Welcome to Stress-Free IEP. You do not need to do it all alone. With your host, Frances Shefter, Principal of Shefter Law. You can get more details and catch prior episodes at www.shefterlaw.com. The Stress-Free IEP video podcast is also posted on YouTube and LinkedIn, and you can listen to episodes through Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, and more. Now, here's the host of Stress-Free IEP, Frances Shefter.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the show. Today, our special episode I made special for a special person, Mya Zavaleta, who is the proud owner of Rooted Occupational Therapy. At Rooted Occupational Therapy, they provide nature OT services to kids in the outdoors to build their coordination, connection, and calming skills. She works with neurodiverse children in individual, group, and camp settings. And I think she's so special because I've never heard OT doing it outside. So Mya, please introduce yourself a little bit more and tell us about how Rooted OT came about.
Yes. Hi. I am so glad to be here. Thank you so much, Frances. And so I originally became an occupational therapist because about almost 20 years ago, because I have a cousin who has developmental disabilities, and I went to her occupational therapy sessions with her as a little girl, and she would just play and learn how to move her body and just feel so connected and engaged and had so much fun. And I said, I want to do what that lady's doing. And so then that just planted the seed. And then I was a teacher for 3 years in New York City. And while I really enjoyed working with children, I realized 25, 28 on one is really difficult. I want to do something that's more to really see an impact on children in smaller groups. So that brought me back to that occupational therapy. And yeah, that's where I am.
And then, so you moved down to the DC area. You're in the DC, Maryland area. What made you go to doing the occupational therapy in the outside, in the nature?
Yes. So I, post-pandemic or during the pandemic, just being behind boxes, which is, computer screen with my clients, and just realizing, and even for my children, they're 13 and 15 years old, but just seeing the lack of nature and outdoor experiences and exposure to outdoors for all kids, and just the wonder and magic of being outside that is just so inviting and brings out such a different sense of calm and richness to kids, especially post-pandemic, because they weren't outdoors for many reasons. I worked at a middle school and high school in DC, and there were reasons for that they didn't feel safe, or because of COVID getting sick, and oftentimes they just weren't outside so much that they would say, there are bugs, and Miss Mya, Rock Creek Park, what if they're like bears? Literally, they said there might be bears or big animals might eat, they just did not have a concept of what it is. And I said, I really want to dismantle that for kids, help them see that it's such a safe and healthy and healing space. And for me, it's been a very healing space. So helping transfer that to my clients has been so, so valuable.
Yeah, my husband is the woods person. He loves being out in the woods, and that's his calming space. I'm the beach girl. I'm the water. So
yeah,
it's
that's
always
me too. That's wonderful. Yeah.
Right.
I get it.
So I've always loved being in the nature and just the grounding of it. So
Absolutely.
how do you I know occupational therapy is certain tools and equipment that you use. How do you adapt that to have it outside?
Yes. So in my trunk, I have just so many different tools. It depends on what we're working with. Fine motor things, swings, balls, all different types of things to build with. Tarps are super important. So I open up my trunk and I pull out some tools that I know I want to work with kiddos, but it's very child-led. So I'll say, what are you interested in working with today? And they'll say, oh, I want this swing and I want to do this type of ball activity. And what is this? I'll say, pull it out. Let's see what we do with it. And we can learn something new. So that really engages them. And it's just like a trunk full of toys, as they say. And yeah, so it just depends on what they're really interested in, what we're working on with each kiddo, that they kind of what drives. And then I often get asked by parents, but what do you do in the cold? Or what do you do in the snow or the rain? And we bundle up and dress appropriately. And I have some extra layers of kids need and extra hats and gloves. And if they're dressed appropriately, there's no bad weather. It's just weather that we need to protect ourselves with. So then I will string from, like, I'll find the right tree, and this is part of working with some kids, like helping problem solve. Like, where do you think would be the best place for us to make a rain fort? Because it's going to rain, or it is raining, we need to cover up. So between two trees, hanging a type of rope that's called a molly rope that has lots of loops, and then putting tarp over it that's kind of making like a lean-to type of tent, and putting stakes in to keep them in the ground, and then figuring out the right tension that you need, what size bungee cords you need, just lots of problem solving, lots of using their whole body. And then we go underneath and play our games and do our activities under there, and lots of observation and just having fun in all weather.
I love that because it's my husband says the same thing. There's no bad weather, just bad clothing choices.
Yes.
And I say, that's fine with you. In winter, I'm still staying inside.
Yes, and
So
that's why parents love me, because they're like, "Oh my gosh, I don't wanna be outside with my kid in the winter for an hour," and I said, "That's my job, I can do that." And, yeah, we make it fun, and we have OT, I love to say that, OTEA, it's occupational therapy tea that we drink, and there's so many wonderful sensory properties of drinking tea, the scents, and then so we even do this imaginary, if we don't have real tea, but you smell the great smell, and this is hot chocolate breathing. Take a deep breath in, smell the hot chocolate, hold your breath and blow out, but not too hard that you're going to blow out those marshmallows you have in there. Breathe out, cooling off that hot chocolate or your tea. So, yeah, there are definitely lots of different things to keep ourselves warm and keeping our hands warm with the tea. And I even have little, um, they're hot water bottles that have covers on them that are like a little stuffed animal squishy feel, and then they have little pockets. We put our pockets in those, and those are our hand warmers when we're cold, and those are our natural hand warmers, which
oh,
is
that's
a
cool.
great way to
I
keep
would say
warm.
we have the little hand warmer packets
Yes.
because I'm Girl Scout cookie mom. So when we do cookie sales booths and it's been cold this winter,
Yes.
the kids love having those to warm up their hands. And
I'll
that's
have to show you my natural hand warmers too, but yes, those work
okay.
absolutely too. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
no, it's great. I mean, I love it that it's outdoors because it's just so not traditional.
Yes.
And I'm sure there's people like, oh, well, you can't do all that you need to do with a child, that of what their goals are and what their end goals are. You can't do it all if you don't have the right equipment. How do you adjust for that?
Yes, definitely. It's just a matter of having I have everything that's portable. So I have stools, and I have a table, and I have a lot of times we don't even do tabletop things. Because many of our kids, or my kids, see that and they're like, "Oh, paper and pencil stuff. I don't do that. The handwriting is too difficult." But if we're drawing with sticks in the dirt, in the water, on rocks, and with the ropes and in different ways, then it just becomes so much more engaging. And we're really tapping into different um brain processes to help them learn these concepts, that like the top line, the dotted line, and the bottom line. We're using sticks, we're using rocks, and we're using a rope, and then they understand it in a different way. And it's a whole body learning, and not just sitting at a paper with paper and pencil at a desk. Um, but we ro- write and draw and color over a tree trunk. So we're working on stability, cord trunk stability, and then we're climbing on the trunk, and then we're going to continue writing another sentence, at the end of the trunk, just making it whole body, lots of different body positions that is really going to engage them in different ways and strengthen their bodies in different ways.
That's so awesome. And I'm assuming like using the whole body. It's if they're having fun, you're going to learn it more and you're going to
Absolutely.
want to do it.
Yes. Yep.
And
Yeah.
so I'm assuming you start with do you start with assessing the children before you start therapy?
Yes, every child that I see has an evaluation, either with me or they have a previous one that I can use. Yes, they need to have an occupational therapy evaluation so that I know what we're working on. We have measures and baseline measures to know where they start, and then to be able to monitor their progress. Yeah.
Perfect. That's awesome. And so
Yeah.
you'll use other people's evaluations, like if somebody had it done at school or something
Yeah.
like that.
Absolutely. Yeah. Sometimes I will need to do um, a mini evaluation if I feel like I want more information, or I feel like the circumstances were different for that child. But yeah, I'm able to get that information from them.
which I'm sure is different because school evaluations focus on the school needs, not as much as the home life needs. And
Yes,
so it's a
absolutely.
little
There
bit
can be overlap, yes, but they're different. But since I was, for 12 years, I was a school-based occupational therapist, so I do incorporate lots of academic skills. And then something that's unique about my services, I think, is that I collaborate with teachers often. I have different packages for clients, families, and if they have one that has consultations, then I will consult with teachers for definitely like 1 to 2 sessions per quarter, the three months that we're working together when they're on the quarter system. But that's really because I was in a school, I know what their needs are in the school, and I'm able to really approach it in a way that I know obviously they're not going to be able to do this one thing for Juanita, but I know that they're going to be able to consider how to make the materials or the strategies a little more accessible or generalized for the whole population, the whole community, and make it more normalized for the child.
I love that because I always say it's so important having everybody, the whole team on the same page, like the inside providers, the ones in school, the outside providers. It's like we're a team. And if we're not working together, you're not like you're working against the child if we don't work together as a team, right?
That is true. Yes.
And I love that you have the teaching experience because I definitely find, because, as you know, I was a former teacher as
Yes.
well. And I find that teachers are more open to former teachers because I guess, we speak the language, we get it, we know what they're going through. And we're not trying to make their lives harder. We're trying to make their lives easier, like getting that.
Absolutely. Yes. Yes. And acknowledging their efforts and what they are doing. That's right. Because a lot of times there are great things happening in the classroom. And then, yeah, just building on those, maybe trying strategies that may have not been considered before or kind of reframing the process.
Right. And then they can also provide strategies to you of what works for them to make it easier. So we're not, I don't want to say wasting time, but we're not experimenting with what strategies will or won't work. That if we know them, some work.
Yes, absolutely.
So when I know you said you have a trunk full of toys, which I love. That's awesome. And you said um, you let the children pick their toys. Um, do you select only a certain amount that you have in your trunk?
It really depends on. So sometimes if I open the trunk for my kids that are going to be dysregulated and overwhelmed by those many choices, I'm going to maybe choose certain ones and say, hey, pick out of this area, or I won't fill my trunk with so many things. But for kids that are better at making choices and are able to, aren't going to have that executive functioning difficulty and overwhelm, then then I will allow them to choose whatever they want, or I will pre-select for kiddos.
So it's kind of giving them a choice so that they think they have the power of choices, but whatever they choose is what you wanted them to choose in the first place.
Yes, yes, absolutely. Yep. And sometimes they do choose something that I'm like, oh, I don't think that would have been something I would have chosen, but I'm creative and think on my feet, and we turn it into something therapeutic and fun.
And I think I know with the strong-willed child, and there's all these books out there and stuff about how kids, a big thing for especially the younger children is that they don't have choice in their life. Like everybody's telling them what to do.
Yes,
And
absolutely.
I'm sure with having these choices that it's giving the children more, just giving them the ability to choose makes them want to come see you more, right?
Absolutely. Yes. And this sense of competence, like I choose and I turn it into something that was fun and meaningful for me. And that's another thing about working in nature is that the space is it's neutral space for both of us because I can't engineer the space the way I could have when I worked in a clinic or in at the school in a certain space. It is what it is. Sometimes trees fall overnight or over the week and the weekend, and it's in a different place, or the creek water's really high and we had planned on going fishing that week, or we wanted to do a creek hike but the water it's been rainy and it might not be clean, so we have to think about that. air is different, the lighting is different. So I'm experiencing at the same time that they are, and it's not the top down, like, I have this information, you're going to come in and do what I select for you. It's just, we're experiencing this together and we're going to engage with it and explore together. So it really neutralizes our relationship in many ways.
That's so great. So wait, creek walks. Do you actually like go walking in the creek?
Absolutely. Yes. Yes. It's great for their vestibular, their sense of balance, their sense of control. Um, and so they'll have walking or shoes. Sometimes it's like their old sneakers. Sometimes it is water shoes. And when the water's low enough and it hasn't rained recently that there's going to be overflow of any dirty water in there, yeah, we go walking in the creek and we do hikes in the creek. And the deep pressure that they feel against their legs, and even if they're tiny, even up higher, is wonderfully regulating for their body, of the water pressing up against them. And then the coolness of the water, it can be so, so hot, DC heat, humidity, but when we're in the creek, it's so much cooler. So it's
That's so
very,
awesome.
very sensory regulating.
So you said rain, shine, snow, sleet, whatever it is,
Yes,
you guys are out there, right?
we are. Yes. But a backup space is my home. If I feel like, in particular, if it's certain windy days and there are lots of limbs coming that could be coming down, I have a backyard outdoor studio also that we use.
Oh, that's great. So is it
Yeah.
it's a full outdoor studio, or is it like a kind of hybrid indoor outdoor?
I have a casita, like a covered shelter. And then sometimes if the wind is coming in, the rain is coming in at the sideways, we put up a tarp. And again, problem solving. Which tarp should we use? What size bungee cords? Where are we going to put the bungee cords? How are we going to connect them? And then we use that as part of the therapy process also.
That is so awesome. I
Yeah.
love it because it's just taking occupational therapy to such a different level.
Yeah.
And I am sure all the kids that interact with you are just learning so much more.
It's
Um,
very rich. It's wonderful. Yes. It's so dynamic.
and parents are all okay. Like, do you let parents know what your plan is so they know how to dress their child or what to send?
Definitely, yes. So I always say bring extra layers just in case they get chilly. But I have extra clothes if they are not dressed appropriately or need more layers or forget something or lose something, because that's what kids do. But yeah, there hasn't been an issue that weather has limited our ability to have fun and explore and have therapy.
That is so awesome. So
Yeah.
do you mainly do nights and weekends, or do you do during school? Like, when do you provide services to these children?
Monday through Friday, my earliest is 8 o'clock, and my latest is well, I have a group. My groups are 4 to 5:30. I have a few groups now, but my one-on-one sessions, the last one is 4 to 5. So, and then it gets a little tricky when it's getting dark at night, and so I think for my fall quarter, my last session will be 3 to 4. So.
That makes sense. So at the end of the day, so they're not
Yeah,
missing
yeah.
too much
The end of
school.
I have lots of morning sessions and afternoon sessions, but I do have homeschooled kids, so I do see them during the day. So it's pretty much throughout the day. No weekends, no nights.
That makes
Yeah.
sense. Yeah, no, that makes sense.
Yeah.
And what about like for breaks and stuff? Like over the summer, it's such a long period of time that kids go without. Do you do anything special over the summer?
Yes, I have nature camps over the summer. So this year I'm going to have 2 weeks in July, and I'm really excited to opening up registration for those. 1 week is going to be nature ninjas, lots of movement, lots of problem solving and risk taking. And in occupational therapy and nature OT, we do dangerous things carefully, because kids are exposed to dangerous things all the time. They need to do it carefully. Whether that's if a limb is fallen across, at one point we showed up at the creek and a tree had fallen from one side of the creek onto the other side of the creek. And it was probably like 50 feet long. And so we first thought about what happened and how did this get here and how sad it must be for the tree that it's fallen. And then the exposed roots and the root scouring. We talk a lot about exposed roots and what that means for um, lots of mud now in the creek and lots of different eco effects of that. But then how they were really curious, could we climb this big tree branch or tree trunk across the creek? I don't know. Let's try that. And I actually had done it before. I had done it with any of my clients. I always do things first. And we had to figure out, problem solve the path to do that. And then we always talk about risks. There are risks. What are all the risks? especially kids that might be more impulsive or those that are going to be very anxious and not going to do it because it's too scary. Well, let's talk about it. You could scrape yourself, you could fall, you could get wet, you could, a branch could break that you're using for stability, lots of different things. And what are we going to do? We're going to work through it together. We're going to problem solve. And I've done it before, and I will do it for them, have them watch me do it. And then they're going to do it themselves. But sometimes they're like, no, I don't want to watch you do it. I want to do it first. And I said, well, I've done it before, and I can walk you through it and talk you through it. But if you're willing to take that risk, let's see how that goes. So yeah, so we did that. I don't know so we were just talking about for so a concept I use for risk taking. In Nature Ninjas, we talk about risks, which is really, really important for kids. And then the second week is Nature Superheroes, and just doing much more fun problem solving and obstacle courses and whole body activities in nature. And some kiddos just need that extra support of a smaller group, an occupational therapist who it really helps kids navigate social relationships and feeling safe in nature spaces to be able to just have fun and be outdoors and enjoy summer.
I love that you say, and I keep saying love, but it is, I love your program and I love everything you do.
Thanks,
I'm thinking about like my kids, like wanting to go out in the woods and play. And I'm thinking about it. I'm like, oh, teach them how to do it safely.
Mm-hmm.
Because let's be real, our kids are going to go out and they're going to climb the trees and they're going to climb across whatever they see. And if we do that problem solving with them, it's just going to make them that much more independent and that much more secure with themselves in going out and doing.
Yes, it gives them that sense of confidence. Like, I know there's some risk to this, so I have to assess those risks and then do it carefully and take my time. Maybe move my body more slowly. Maybe think about where I'm putting my feet. Maybe looking around me and scanning what's around me. Yeah.
It just teaches so much more. So for the camp, you said you're going to do 2 different weeks. Is it just going to be open to your OT clients? Are you opening up to the public?
Yeah, it's open to the public. I do have some OT clients that are going to be joining, but it's open. It's a group of, I have 6 spots for children that do need occupational therapy services, but I also have peer playmates. So kids that can benefit from the services, but don't necessarily have IEPs or diagnoses, that can really benefit from the social skills and the physical coordination skills that we're working, and maybe some of their social and emotional wellness. It's for a group of 8, but typically the group is going to be between, I think, 5 or 6 for each session. So it's a very low child to adult ratio, and it's for specialized occupational therapy professionals that are going to be supporting these kiddos.
That's great. Because I'm thinking about how much the program supports children of all the other diagnoses, you know, your ADHD children, your children with anxiety, your children with autism spectrum. Like it's such an amazing program that I'm like, okay, they might not need OT, but they need all that other stuff that you're teaching.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping maybe if you get busy enough, you'll throw in another couple of weeks or something.
Yeah. You know, my program manager has said, well, maybe you're going to want to, keep that schedule open, because I bet you're going to be needing to have some overflow weeks. So that is a possibility. We'd have to be a little crafty with our scheduling, but yeah.
Yeah, because it sounds like a great program. I'm like, my daughters would love to take it.
I'd love to see them there.
Yeah, it would be fun. So we talked about the camp, we talked about in nature. I'm trying to think what else we didn't touch on. You do the calming skills and neurodiverse children. How do people get in touch with you? Like, what do people do if they're not sure if their child needs OT?
Yeah. So there are a few things. I have a website. It's www.rootedindc.com. So it's ROOTEDINDC.com. So that gives lots of information of my philosophy and what we do in nature, why nature, a little bit about myself, and then the different packages I offer and the process that we have to get people on board. And then you can contact me. We can also have a chat to see if it's the right fit. Oftentimes parents really know, like, I really have a sense that my child is really clumsy or has really oversensitive to certain sounds and certain textures. And I think something's going on, and I'd like to have somebody see like what we can do to support my child. So oftentimes parents do know that something is happening, and they like that professional advice and support. So then that's my website. And then if you really want a glimpse of what I'm actually doing, I'm on Instagram, which it's so funny to my friends to hear me say that I'm on Instagram, because I've always been like, no social media. You're my friend in person, but I'm not your friend virtually. No, I'm on social media also. I'm on Facebook, and my Instagram handle is Mya Zavaleta, MyAZAVALETAOT. And that's where you can actually really get a glimpse of what I'm doing with kids. I think there's the video of one of my young clients, teen crossing that creek, large trunk that I was talking about, using different tools and all of the different strategies we use. And then I give a caption of what the justifications are, under helping people understand what exactly it is that we're doing and how it's therapeutic. So that gives, I think parents check that out. Often they'll say, I just want to see, like, what do you do with my kid in the woods? That's kind of unusual,
Right.
but I would drop off my child with somebody and let them play in the
Let
woods
them
with
go
them.
off.
Yeah.
Right.
What are they really doing? So that kind of gives parents a really fair image of what I'm doing with their, potentially with a child such as theirs. And then I'm also on LinkedIn too.
Great. So I want to go back to, because you were saying oftentimes parents know your
Mhm.
child is clumsy and things going
Yeah.
on. And I say often in all of my videos and shows that trust the parent gut. It's there
Yes.
for a reason.
Oh,
Moms,
good
dads,
point.
like we know, we have it inside us.
It's a
But what
visceral
are some,
sense.
yep, what are some signs that, for the newer parents that don't know anything about the
Yeah,
special
yeah,
education world or neurodiverse,
yeah.
what are some signs they can look for to know whether they need to contact you or not?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think that really when they're not able to manage navigating their world, whether that's social relationships, if they're in conflict with their classmates, even with adults, having difficulty being able to express themselves, using their body instead of being able to say, like, I'm hungry, having frequent meltdowns that are longer than a few minutes long. Once you figure out what it is, and you address, like, okay, it was actually that they were hungry, or it was actually that they were really upset that X, Y, and Z happened with a peer. Once you address the issue and you've gotten them to that place of comfort, they're still going to have that temper tantrum. They're still going to, it's going to be prolonged, and it's really, really difficult to help them calm and soothe. And I don't say self-soothe because it's really hard to expect a little one to know how to self-soothe. We, as older, more mature, more reflective humans, we can self-soothe, but a child, it's very, very difficult for them to really self-soothe. They need to learn how to soothe. Um, but yeah, so if they're getting really stuck. And if they have particulars about certain things, that they will not wear certain clothing because the tag is really itchy, or when
I
they go
see.
outside, the noise is really loud. They do not go in crowds. They get really, really anxious being in certain spaces. Just being really observant of our young ones and knowing something isn't right about this situation, and I want to figure out what it is and help them um, identify what that is, and help them be able to start advocating for themselves and being able to use words. And even sometimes it's like even using signs or thumbs up, thumbs down. How is this feeling? Is it the noise? Yes. Is it the bright lights? No, not really. No, it's not the bright lights. It's, just helping them use different strategies to be able to identify what exactly it is that's really setting them off and not helping them navigate their world.
I'm so glad I asked, because those are not things that I would think of calling an OT for.
Mm,
Not necessarily, like, the
mm,
meltdowns, the dysregulation and all that. Well, they need to see a psychologist or a psychiatrist, or, figure
mhm.
that out.
Lots of
But
them.
that's
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great to know that that's your wheelhouse as well, to help
Yes.
kids with the sensory issues.
Yes, that's absolutely occupational therapy. And then I don't highlight this. I'm a word nerd. I love handwriting. I love helping kids with handwriting. But that's the obvious one too. If your child is having difficulty staying on the lines, writing in a way that people can see what they say. Writing our names is something that we all identify with. It's very special. It's who we are. And if they can't write their name, if they can't put paper to pencil to really be able to express their write what they need to write. Yeah.
Right, those are the things, tying shoes,
Thank
writing your name,
you.
those are the
Yes,
things like,
yes,
"Oh, I
yes.
need to call an OT,"
Yes,
but
yes,
it's so much more.
yes, we've broadened, yes.
Yeah, I love that. And then, to bring it back to IEPs, so you do private evaluations.
Yes,
I'm assuming because of your teaching background, you know how to write the evaluations, to help families get qualified for services in the schools?
I do. I will say, I often will say at school, visual perceptual difficulties are gonna look like this, and these are the strategies you might want to try. Um, and so as an example, so I will incorporate into how it looks like in their classroom. And oftentimes parents will say, there's an in my intake, one of the questions is, how does the child perform academically? What are the concerns at school? And what are any supports that your child is receiving? And then I will build on that too, to offer other strategies and approaches that have been effective and worked for me when I was a school-based therapist. Yeah.
That's great because I know a lot of my issues that my clients are having and families are having is that the school says, "Well, that's a medical need. It's not a
Mhm.
school need." And that difference between an educational need and a medical need, who's responsible?
Ah,
So that,
that's
you know,
tough.
and so that you know both, you know how to write it that, and I'm not saying that it's always a school need, but there are times that it is both and
Mhm.
needs.
Absolutely. And it's really contributing to the child's sense of competence and being able to, fulfill their occupation is truly being able to learn, to socialize, to be able to have relationships and to be able to write and read. And it's just a child, whether they're physically in school or physically at home, they need those skills. Yeah.
Right, and they need them all around.
All
This
around.
has been so wonderful and so great. I'm so glad we met.
Yes.
I think Bill is the one that introduced
Yes.
us.
Thank you, Bill.
Yes, Bill is awesome at DC Superior Court. Like, this is just great. I'm so excited, and I know you're working with a couple of my clients already, I believe.
Yes.
And I look forward to us having this continued relationship, and hopefully people out there know now what to look for and to contact Mya for that different approach for your child.
Yes. And if I can offer your clients and anybody who's watching this, if you want to contact me and say, I learned about you from Stress-Free IEP with Frances Shefter, I'd love to offer $800 dollars for a week of nature-based occupational therapy, which is a reduced price for our services. So I would love for people to reach out and let me know you watched this and offer that.
Thank you so much. That's wonderful. So now
Yes,
I hope even more people take advantage of it.
exactly. Reach out.
Yes, thank you. And I think all those links are going to be below in the show notes. Thank you so much, Mya. This was awesome.
It was great to talk to you, Frances. Thank you.
You've been listening to Stress-Free IEP with your host, Frances Shefter. Remember, you do not need to do it all alone. You can reach Frances through schefterlaw.com, where prior episodes are also posted. Thank you for your positive reviews, comments, and sharing the show with others through YouTube, LinkedIn, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, and more.